Year 3, this is a quick video to help you with your homework from Autumn 2, Week 1. You have got 2 calculations in front of you, and we are beginning to talk about calculations more deeply, so we need to name what they are. In an addition sum, the numbers are called addends, and that word is there. And the addend, that's the largest addend, can be at the front or it can be at the back. It doesn't matter because they're commutative. You can swap them around and still these addends won't make a difference to the answer. However, in a subtraction sum, the number at the front has to be bigger at the moment than the number that's there. We call this number the minuend, and m for minuend, m for mighty. It's mighty because it's bigger. So the minuend comes at the front, and this smaller number is called the subtrahend. So that's just reminding you of what those numbers are called. It's really important that you remember that the subtrahend, which is that one, has to be smaller than the minuend, which is that one. In my book, I would record that like that. So I'd have my date at the corner, bingo, and then I would say what they were called. I haven't done the subtraction one yet, but you can do that. Moving down, we've got some calculations. And I'm going to encourage you to use the partitioning method. I know you can count on with your fingers, but I want you to be able to do the partitioning method too. This is how it should work. I'm going to switch to my whiteboard. Hang on. So that first calculation was, I'm going to go for this one. 8 add 424. It doesn't matter that my addend, which is largest, is there. It doesn't matter. It also wouldn't matter if my equal sign was at the front. It can be at the beginning. It doesn't matter. So my calculation is this. Sometimes we call calculations number sentences. When I'm adding a 1-digit number to a 3-digit number, I'm trying to use a mental method which looks at the smallest addend. That's the biggest one. That's the smallest addend, and it partitions it. It cuts it up. Because we're going to, do you know what? Another strategy is to cover up the hundreds and see it as 24. When we're adding 8 to 24, we're going to go to the next 10 that's nearest up. The next 10 nearest up would be not 20, would be 30. And we're going to need, how many are we going to need to get to 30? We're going to need 6 to get to 30. Because 24 add 6 equals 30. But we haven't finished adding yet because we were supposed to add 8. We've only added 6. So what goes with 6 to make 8? 2. Awesome. So what we're hoping happens is that, I'm going to take this away now. Ooh. When we add 6 to 424, when we add that 6, in our heads we hold 424 add 6 is 430, and then we can add the 2, which makes 430, add that 2 is 432, so we can put our answer there. Or we could actually put our answer here. It's a bit weird, but 432, it could go there either, but not in both places, otherwise that would be a bit confusing. I'm going to do one more of those. This time I'm going to choose, I'll start with the first one. It's 295, add 6. Yeah, I could count on if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. I'm going to choose the smallest addend, which is that one, and I'm going to partition it. I'm going to cover up my hundreds because it makes it easier, but you don't have to. What's the nearest 10 up from 95? The nearest 10 up is going to be 100. Oh, but watch out. Is it 100 or is it going to be, not 100, 300. So what did we jump to get from 95 to 300? We jumped 5, didn't we? So I'm going to partition my 6 into a 5. And what goes with 6? What goes with 5 to make 6? 5 add something equals 6. 5 add 1 equals 6. So in my head I'm doing this. I'm saying 295, add the 5 equals 295 add 5. 295 add 5 equals 300. But don't forget to add the other part, which is 1. So 300 add 1 is 301. So when I come to do this in my book, it looks a little bit like that. And I'm showing you my thinking and my partitioning. If you want to, you can add on as well, just to check that the answers are the same. When it comes to subtraction, I'll do an example of that. When it comes to subtraction, I'm going to go for 471, take away 3. I partition my smallest number, which is that one. You could count back if you wanted to, but again, I want you to get used to partitioning the smallest number. Now this time, do you know what? I'm going to cover up that 4. Makes me giddy. What's the nearest 10 down this time? Because we're going backwards, we've got to find the nearest 10 down. The nearest 10 down would be 70. So we need to get rid of that 1. So I'm going to jump back 1 first. But what goes with 1 to make 3? 1 and something make 3. 1 and 2 make 3. Well done. So here we go. I can get rid of that now. Ding dong, ding dong. What's 471? Take away that 1. I hold that in my head. What's 471? Take away 1. 470. Awesome. But I've still got to take away that 2. What's 470? Take away 2. I'm going to cover up the 400. What's 70? Take away 2. 70 take away 2 is 68. Oh, don't forget though, it's 468, and there's my equal sign. So again, in my book, I would show you my calculation, but I would show you my partitioning. And if you want to, if you need to, you can hold the first jump in your head and then show me how you get to the answer. So in your book, you can show me that sort of calculation. When you come to do your work in your book, make sure you leave a lot of space between the sums, otherwise you won't have space to do all your jumping around and your thinking. So I've left 1, 2, 3 lines. You might want to leave 4 or 5 lines. But notice how all my numbers sit on the line, and I'm using my best handwriting and my most joins. Okay. Right. The other task was what was it? It was the English, wasn't it? Now this was before I knew I had to do it online. So what have I asked you to do? In class, we've been testing words to see if they are nouns, prepositions, verbs, adverbs, and adjectives. I'll remind you of the test in the video. Bingo, so that's where we are. Now, we're not able to do this unless you're very fancy and can do it on a PDF document. So I'm going to show you what to do. So here we go. I've got to test a word. I'm going to go for the word, lessons. See, lessons? Got it. Right, here we go. So I'm going to test lessons. So I've got lessons. That's my word I'm going to test. The test of a noun. The test of a noun is whether you can put a determiner in front of it. What's a determiner? A determiner is a or an, the or some. Does that make sense? Lessons, that doesn't make sense. Oh, the lessons make sense, and some lessons make sense. So lessons is a noun. Fantastic. So in my book, what I would do is I would put a little subheading, nouns, and then I would write them. Oh, I've given you another one. It's school, a school, the school. And I do the same for adjectives. You're looking for 3 examples of each. So I'd write three in a list. But that's just a test for nouns. Test for nouns is putting a determiner in front. But there's another test. It's a test for verbs. Let's see if lesson behaves like a verb. So we know it's a noun. The test for verbs is if you can add ing to it or ed. So let's test it as a verb. Lessoning? No. Lessened. Does it make sense? No. So it's not a verb. So there's 2 tests there. So we've got a test for a noun, we've got a test for a verb. But there's another test we can do, and it's a test for an adverb. Sorry, my writing's a bit scribbly. The test for an adverb is if it ends in an ly. Well, does lessons end in an ly? not at all. So it's not an adverb. And finally, the test for an adjective is this. Let's move it down. The test for an adjective is if you can put a noun behind it. So let me think of a noun. I'm going to use the word table. Can we put lessons in front of it? Lessons table. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. So it's not an adjective either. Okay. So we've got a test for adjectives. Put a noun behind it. The test for a noun is if it's able to have a determiner in front of it. The test for an adverb is whether it ends in an ly. And the test for a verb is whether it ends in ing or ed, or whether it can end in ing or ed. Prepositions are small words, they're to do with position. So you know that prep, and it's got the word positions. We play a game in class where we put a glass of water on our head, an imaginary glass of water on our head, under our head, behind our head, all the little words to do with positions, and they tend to be little like in or out, on or under. They tend to be little are prepositions because they do with the positions. You might not need these tests. You might already know what words are. So, for example, you might know that, and this is it, isn't it? This is the story I've got you to read. You might know that question is already a noun, or that kids are already nouns, because you know that nouns are the names of things. You might know that let's look for a verb that's obvious. You might look at pulled as already being a verb. You might not need to test it because you might need to know. So in your book, try to give me 3 nouns, 3 adjectives, and then use your page to behave as a way of recording your answers. Okay. Last thing I asked you to do was to do the spellings. The spellings are words that have tricky sounds in them. The Y was the I sound in these words is really a cheeky Y. So the first word I think I gave you was Jim, wasn't it? So I want to say J. Actually, I want to say that, but I know it's not. J, im. That's how I want to spell it, but no. These words are I sounds are Ys. There are some words that are red at the bottom. These are especially challenging words. If you're really good at spelling and you can hold words easily in your eyes, have a look at those. And I've asked you to come up with, is it 5 sentences? So in your book, I'm hoping that you can use, dropping stuff. So I went to the gym. Not here, is it? So yum, full stop. That would do. And that's one of your sentences. Okay. So hopefully in your book, it will be your best handwriting. And you've got lots of space so you can explain what you've done with your maths. You've got some nouns, some adjectives. You might want to do prepositions here using a ruler. Oh, mine's on the floor now. And you might want verbs there. Okay. If you can't do it, don't panic. Bring your book in Monday or Tuesday and we'll have a go at it together. Enjoy your weekend.